right, you guys, happy Wednesday. I hope you are all having an incredible week. Today I wanted to share with you some postnatal nutrition and goals that we can set as you go through your, really we're going to be talking about kind of setting yourself up for success pre-pregnancy, and then that way that it can kind of flow into your post-pregnancy. So while I know this training might not be for everybody, if you are planning on getting pregnant in the future, or if you're planning on getting pregnant again in the future, a lot of this information is going to be super valuable for you to be able to set yourself up so that you can have a strong recovery. Yeah, that's just my goal for you guys. So really quick, if you're watching this live or on the replay, I want to do a giveaway for you guys. So all you have to do is screenshot your screen watching this live training, tag me on Instagram, and I'm giving away a free month into the Fit Cycle app. So whether you're a member, I'll refund you, and if you're not a member, you'll get your first month free. So be sure to screenshot this training, add it into your Instagram, tag me on there. It's just my name, Lindsay Holsey, and I will pick somebody to give a free month of the Fit Cycle to. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I wanted to share is just kind of go over some postnatal goals. Also, if you're here and you're watching this live, can you give me some emojis, some comments? I should be able to see it, but might not be able to, but I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me and everything's all good. So first up, let's kind of go over some postnatal goals. I've got some notes here for you guys. I want to make sure that I cover everything, and if there's something that I don't cover, feel free to ask it in the comments while I'm here live or on the replay, and I will be sure to check in with you guys and double check on those and give you some coaching. So here's the deal. The best scenario would be for somebody to have a plan pre-pregnancy, going into pregnancy, and then continuing a plan post-pregnancy. So if you can start your whole pregnancy journey, really it's a culmination of about 15 months of really focusing on getting your body ready for that pregnancy, primed during the pregnancy, and then that way it's going to get you ready post-pregnancy. So ideally it would be if you can kind of start, like I said, start your nutrition journey, start your fitness journey now, because you're kind of running a marathon when you're pregnant, you know, just having gone through it. Your body goes through a lot of physiological changes, your mind goes through a lot of psychological changes, so you're not always going to be motivated. I just did a post about that today, but it's the consistency and continuing to show up that's going to really benefit you in the long term. Because the thing is if you thrive pre-pregnancy, you're going to thrive during your pregnancy. And now I'm not saying that you're not going to have morning sickness, because as in shape as I was before I got pregnant, I did have that morning sickness. I had those cravings and all of that stuff. But if you can thrive during your pregnancy, as far as, you know, staying on top of your nutrition, getting your workouts in as much as you can, as best as you can, you're going to set yourself up for a lot better success post-pregnancy. It's really difficult to recover mentally, physically, and emotionally with a lack of calories. So our main goal going into and kind of setting up maybe this 15-month plan of pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, post-pregnancy is really getting you up to those maintenance calories. And I'll kind of talk about going through each trimester as far as calorie requirements, and then postpartum nutrition, and then also breastfeeding as well. But we want to create that thriving environment for about 15 months. So you've got your 9 months of pregnancy, and then we're going to kind of talk about that 6 months postpartum. And so, like I said, if you are past 6 months postpartum, this is still going to be very valuable, because if you're not eating at your maintenance, you're feeling tired, you're sluggish, you're not producing enough milk, which a lot of other hormonal things come into play with that, as I'm experiencing, then you want to make sure that you're eating at those maintenance calories. So you've got the 9 months of pregnancy, the 6 months of postpartum, you're creating this 15-month kind of thriving environment. But the thing that I want to mention first and foremost too is that we really need to get away from that bounce back mentality. Getting back to your pre-pregnancy body, you really need to come into this with a mindset of just wanting a healthy recovery. And that mindset shift can be hard because, you can be seeing other people who it's like they don't even look like they had a baby 2 weeks ago. And then, you know, here you are and you're just kind of like struggling with the things that your body went through. Now your hormones are going crazy. So trust me, I've been there. You know, as a fitness professional, I'm like, well, why don't I look like her already? Or why don't I look like this person already? And so it's really important to make sure that you're fueling your body so that you can also have a good mental response as well as a physiological response as well too. So in the first 6 months post delivery, your body, you can experience a body recomposition change without even being in a deficit. So you hear me talk a lot about being in the only way to lose fat is being in a calorie deficit. You've got to be burning more than you're consuming. The first 6 months after you deliver is not the time to be focused on a deficit. So I'll get messages from people being like, hey, I just had a baby 6 months ago. I'm ready to get back into, you know, my pre-body. Going into an intentional deficit, I don't recommend for at least 6 months. You will be in a caloric deficit automatically, which I'll explain here in just a second. So we don't want to add on more of a deficit after that because we want to make sure that we're fueling our body. So I recommend after delivery waiting at least 6 months before going into an intentional deficit, which I'll talk about the differences here in just a second. So why do we do this? Because you want to be at your maintenance calories when you are postpartum because your body needs to recover. You need fuel, you need that, you need all of your carbs, your fats for hormonal recovery, mental recovery, muscle recovery, tissue recovery. You guys, your body goes through so much, and so you need to be fueling it properly and at least at your maintenance calories, which I'll explain what that is here in just a second. But because your body needs to recover, your hormones are being reset, and you really need to focus on healing. And you've got all these new demands as a mom. You're not getting sleep. That's adding a lot of stress to your body. So if you put your body in an intentional deficit, you're going to be adding more stress to your body, and that's just going to wreak havoc on your hormones. So can you kind of see how fueling your body in the proper way is really essential into helping your body get back into the homeostasis that you had before you even got pregnant? So you really need to allow yourself that 6 month window. And trust me, I know how hard that can be mentally. I'm not saying don't work out for 6 months. I'll get into how to progress into your workouts as well. But this is super, super important that you don't put your body, you've got to be fueling yourself. You know, you've got to be giving to yourself. It's like putting your oxygen mask on before you're helping your child. If you're not feeling good, if you don't have energy, it's going to be really, really hard when you're not getting enough sleep and you've got all the demands of the baby. So those are just kind of some goals that I wanted to go over. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, as soon as you get pregnant, kind of those caloric needs, because that's going to kind of feed into how we get to our maintenance calories postpartum as well. So the pregnancy nutrition program is super, super important that you're consuming what your body needs for each trimester. Typically in that first trimester, you want to be consuming at your maintenance calories. So you're going to take your activity into account and your basal metabolic rate. So your basal metabolic rate is what your body burns if you were just laying on the couch just to breathe, have your heartbeat, and your organs function, okay? My BMR is around about 1,375 calories. So I never want to dip below 1,375 calories in the day because that is going to wreak havoc on my metabolism. So that's just your starting point. Your BMR is your starting point for calories. You never want to go below that. And so that first trimester, you need to take also into that your activity level. So are you sedentary? Are you not working out? Are you bedridden? You know, take those things into account. Are you getting less than 2,000 steps in a day? That would be considered, in my eyes, in my coaching experience, that's going to put you in that sedentary level. You know, are you doing light workouts? Are you just walking? Are you getting 10,000 steps in a day but you're not working out? That would put you at lightly active. Are you working out every day? You know, so those things are going to come into account when you are calculating your maintenance calories. And so that first trimester, you want to be consuming your maintenance calories. Now, trust me, I know how hard this is when you're nauseous and like all you crave is carbs and or McDonald's. I totally get that. So it's just doing the best that you can. Your body knows what it needs. And you're going to, whenever you get pregnant, you just you're like, okay, right now I needed ramen because I just needed to soothe my stomach and soothe my nausea. So you do the best that you can trying to hit your maintenance calories, but you do not want to be in an intentional deficit when you're pregnant. You don't want to be going through a fat loss phase as soon as you know you got pregnant. So with that being said, if you were in a fat loss phase, if you were trying to lose fat and then you got pregnant during your fat loss phase, bump your calories up to maintenance calories right there. So you're going to be at your maintenance that you would be, for your pregnancy. So then that's the first trimester. So then going into the second trimester, this is typically where you start to feel a lot better, but your body is going to need a lot more, not a lot more fuel, just a little bit more fuel to, build that healthy baby, make sure that it's getting enough fats and things like that. So in your second trimester, you're going to increase your calories about 150 to 300 calories above your maintenance. So we're not eating for two people. You're not going from consuming 1,800 calories for yourself to doubling that to 3,600 calories because you're eating for two people. That's not how it works. In your second trimester, you really only need about 150 to 300 extra calories above your maintenance. So you've got just a little peanut in there. It's not a whole person. So a lot of times that's where we can start gaining weight too fast. Your goal during pregnancy is to have healthy weight gain. You're going to gain weight regardless. So you just want that healthy weight gain. So you're not eating for two, you've got a little peanut in there. In that second trimester, you want to do about 150 to 300 calories extra above your maintenance. So then when you get into your third trimester, this is when you want to do about 300 to 500 extra calories above maintenance. So let's say your maintenance calories for your activity level is around, we'll just say 1,800 calories. By your third trimester, you want to be consuming at least 2,100 to 2,300 calories in that last trimester. So that's going to really set you up for a really good place to be as far as fueling your body and getting your body ready to give birth. It is a marathon, whether you're doing vaginal or a cesarean. So it's a lot. So you want to make sure that you're fueling your body there. So that's kind of setting yourself up during pregnancy. Now, postnatal goals. So 8 weeks after your delivery, you should be eating at your new total daily energy expenditure. So we'll kind of talk about breastfeeding macros as well. And so you are going to be consuming your maintenance. So you're going to take your weight, you're going to do your maintenance level for what it would be after giving birth. And that's already going to put you into a little bit of a deficit because you're not eating the 300 to 500 extra calories that you were eating in your third trimester, unless you're breastfeeding, which I'll get to that in a second. So it's already going to take you from being in that surplus. You're eating at your maintenance, so it's already going to put you in a deficit. So you're already automatically going to lose a little bit there. So at month two postpartum, you should be eating at your new maintenance. And this is going to mimic a deficit, but we're not necessarily in an intentional deficit just yet because we don't want to be going into that intentional fat loss phase. And this is a great time to get really comfortable eating at your maintenance. So that way when you are ready to go into that intentional fat loss, you're not having to create as big of a deficit because you're eating so many calories already. Your metabolism is primed. So kind of get in that mindset too when you're pregnant. I know it can be hard. You have your days where you have your body image days. I've been there. But this is a really, really great place to try to get to mentally. So in this first 6 months, you are able to have what's called a body recomposition. And so this is where you're going to be able to use that fuel to fuel your recovery, to start working out, and to build your muscles. And while you're eating at maintenance, you're building those muscles and you're still being able to create that fat loss. So you're going to be starting to increase your activity. Most of the time, physicians say that you can increase activity slowly, starting at that 6-week mark, just kind of depending, which I'll get into that here in just like 2 seconds. But you're going to start to increase your activity. You're allowing your body to recover physically in this first 6 months, and you're not in an intentional deficit. So if you have a vaginal birth, your exercise progression, what I recommend is starting to walk within your physician's guidelines, of course. So if you're not able to walk before that 6 weeks, then definitely you can probably start walking at 6 weeks. But a lot of times your nurses and things will recommend to get up and maybe walk to the mailbox, or do that for a week and then maybe walk around the block. So just kind of gauging what you can. But I wouldn't necessarily start lifting after a vaginal delivery until about 8 weeks. So that's adding in weights and things like that. And just remember, you're not going to start your weightlifting at the weights that you finished wherever you were whenever you stopped working out when you were pregnant. It's going to be different. You're going to you're going to be more tired. You're going to have lost some strength. So you just want to make sure that you're giving your body that time. So start walking for sure at 6 weeks, and then start lifting at 8 weeks. And then if you had a C-section, start walking. Your physician will usually say light exercise around week 6. But I would definitely start like that scar mobilization and things like that. And then for sure walking by week 8, and then lifting by week 10. And I can vouch for this window because I did, I was anxious to start working out. So as soon as week 6 came around, I started working out. And I feel like it took a little bit longer to recover. I could feel some incisional tenderness. And just like my body was, trying to still recover from my C-section, while also trying to recover my, my muscle soreness from working out too. So definitely make sure that you're staying in tune with your body and you're giving your body the rest that it needs. And then after that, walking 3 days per week, and then progress to 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, getting your 10,000 steps in, or the steps that you were getting in pre-pregnancy. And you can start lifting 2 days a week, then progress to 3 days a week, then 4 days a week. And so just really listening to your body there. And this is where you're going to be adjusting your activity level, right? And so if you're at your maintenance calories, the more activity that you are adding in as you're progressing, that's going to put you in a bigger deficit. So you might need to increase your calories there. So, and that's just like straight pregnancy, post-pregnancy calories. Now we're going to get into breastfeeding macros here just a little bit. So one of the main questions that I got is a specific breastfeeding or postpartum macro split. I don't necessarily recommend certain percentages of carbs, proteins, and fats. What I recommend is getting at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and then you will be able to adjust your protein or your fats and your carbs based on that. Do at least 30% carbs, and then 30% fat, because you need those good healthy fats for that hormonal health, for your breast milk, all of that stuff. And so 30% fats is kind of the only one that I'll recommend a certain percentage, and then everything else is going to be your carbs. So depending on what your weight is, your protein's going to be different than mine and the next person, and then same thing with your carbohydrates. They're gonna change. But I do recommend at least never dropping below 30% of fat with that. So when you are breastfeeding, so if you are if you have your post-delivery and you are interested in breastfeeding, you want to make sure that you're consuming 300 to 500 extra calories per day above the goal for above what your total daily energy expenditure would normally be. So if you calculate your BMR and your total daily energy expenditure, you want to add at least 300 to 500 calories on to maintain your breast milk. So you have your maintenance goal, and so let's just say when you calculate it, it's like 2,100. Then you would want to consume at least 2,400 to 2,600 calories if you're breastfeeding. So I know how hard mentally that can be if you're just like, I'm ready, but to bounce back. But remember, we've got to move away from the bounce back, and your goal in this season, if you're breastfeeding, is to feed and nourish your baby. And if you're not breastfeeding, that's totally fine too. So just know that in this season, your main goal is to feed and nourish your baby if you're breastfeeding. So you want to make sure that you have at least 300 to 500 extra calories on top of that. So what your breakdown is going to be is, like I said, I'm not giving specific percentages, but it's going to be about between 50 and 70% carbs, and then at least 30% fats. So you need a lot of energy macros. That's what that extra 300 to 500 calories is going to be made up of. You don't want to take calories out of that and add it to protein. Your body weight is your protein number, and then everything else is going towards carbs and fats, because those are your energy macros. You need those energy macros to fuel your body while you're breastfeeding, fuel your baby, make sure it's getting all of those good fats. So when you get to that 6-month mark, when you're kind of ready to start going into a deficit, if your milk supply is in a good place, this is when you can start to go into a deficit if you're feeling like you're in a good place. Don't feel like you have to, but if it's like, okay, you know what, I'm kind of ready. If you're eating at that 500 mark, you're getting a really great supply out, then that's when you can maybe drop back your calories in increments of like 50 calories. So that might be like your morning creamer, taking your morning creamer out. Or if you want to do like 100 calories, that might be your morning oatmeal. So just tiny little increments. It doesn't have to be huge drastic changes, and those tiny little caloric adjustments will help to create that fat loss. So if you are breastfeeding and you're starting to increase your activity and you're eating that 500 extra calories, as you increase your activity, you'll need to increase your calories as well, because you're creating a more of a burn, if that makes sense. So just kind of be aware, be in tune with your body to make sure that you're still putting out your a good breast milk supply as you're increasing and adding your activity in, if that makes sense. So I believe that's all I've got for you guys today. I know it went kind of long, but I wanted to add that prenatal portion in there as well, just to kind of like help it all bring together. So just to kind of wrap up, and then I'll answer some questions. You really want to create at least 15 months of a optimal nutritional environment for your pregnancy. So 9 months of pregnancy, eating at your maintenance during first trimester, adding 100 to 300 calories your second trimester, and then adding 300 to 500 your third trimester. And then post-pregnancy, if you're breastfeeding, you want to add 300 to 500 calories as well to maintain your milk supply. So that kind of is just like a wrap up for that 20-minute call. Let me see if there's any questions. If I can't ever scroll on the questions here, so I might have to answer afterwards. I can see a little bit of Kara's. How do hormone imbalances like PCOS affect already difficult weight loss, especially postpartum? So yeah, it's definitely going to play a part in your ability to achieve weight loss. There are specific macros for PCOS that I typically recommend, and I can do a whole training on PCOS as well. So if you want me to do a PCOS training, let me know, because those are very specific and kind of niche down macros to help balance those hormones a little bit. So yeah, so if you have any other questions, put them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them today. And as always, if you have any topics that you want me to train on, I'll be doing these trainings every single Wednesday. So it's like a way for me to kind of coach you guys better, so we can do live Q&A coaching and things like that. So put any questions that you have below. I hope you enjoyed this training. I know it went a little bit long, but don't forget to screenshot it, tag me on Instagram for an opportunity to get a free month of the Fit Cycle. But hope you guys have an awesome week, and I hope to see you in the free workshop that I'm hosting. The first date is tomorrow night, and then the next date is Saturday. So it's the 3 strategies I used pre-pregnancy to drop 20 pounds, and then the same 3 strategies that I'm going to be using post-pregnancy when I'm ready to go into that deficit. So I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I'll be here if you need me.